Hello everyone, Dr. Polaris here. Well, it looks like we've got another Parusetus on our hands. I'm sure you probably already heard the news that an alleged Cretaceous Kraken of gigantic proportions has been announced, based on the fossilised remains of isolated beaks only. Belonging to the genus Nanaimoteuthis haggarti, and first described in 2008, the holotype specimen was recovered from the Late Cretaceous Pender Formation of Vancouver Island, Canada, initially being classified as a member of Vampiromorphidae. This is the clade that contains the modern vampire squid, which, despite their common name, are not squid at all, but instead are basal octopodiforms. At this stage, it was realised that N. haggarti was a large animal, although exact size estimates were not given, with it initially being classified in the separate genus Paleocerateuthis. Additional material belonging to this octopus has also been recovered from the Yezo group of Hokkaido, Japan. However, in a 2026 paper by Ikegami et al., it was argued that Paleocerateuthis was actually synonymous with the genus Nanaimoteuthis, with N. haggarti being reclassified accordingly. In addition, it was found that this species was a serraton octopus, with these representing the modern deep-sea finned forms such as the Dumbo octopus and the cute flapjack octopus. As Nanaimoteuthis lived from the Cenomanian to Campanian stages of the Late Cretaceous, this makes the genus the oldest serraton so far known, with it probably also being the most basal member of the group. Serratons possess a number of key anatomical traits that separate them from the more famous inserraton octopuses, such as small internal shells and two fins on their heads. In addition to lacking ink sacs and having reduced gills, serraton octopods swim by a combination of fin action and medusoid propulsion, with this mode of locomotion differing from that of other octopods that primarily rely on jet propulsion, which is not as effective in serratons. This gives us some idea as to what Nanaimoteuthis would have looked like, with the type species being N. yeletzkii. Ikegami et al. Described isolated lower jaws of this species, estimating the mantle of this animal to have been between 2.2 and 6 feet long, meaning that the entire octopus would have ranged between 2.8 and 7.7 metres, or between 9 feet 2 inches and 25 feet 3 inches. These are pretty wide estimates, although regardless of the species, N. yeletzkii would still have been a very large octopus, although it likely paled in comparison with N. haggarti, which may have been the most massive octopod to have ever lived. Estimates provided by Ikegami et al. Range from an overall length of 6.6 or 22 feet to a truly staggering 18.6 metres or 61 feet. For comparison, the living giant squid can reach about 13 metres or 43 feet long. In addition, based on the wear patterns of the N. yeletzkii and N. haggarti specimens, Ikegami et al. Conclude that these cephalopods fed on animals with harder skeletons than their chitinous jaws. The authors ruled out abrasion as a possible cause, as all specimens studied were found in sediments formed in deep, low-energy environments. The researchers indicated that huge finned octopuses, which they compared to the mythical Kraken, competed with vertebrates in the North Pacific Ocean and were the top predators there during the Late Cretaceous. The authors noted that, as a result of convergent evolution, cephalopods and vertebrates acquired jaws and lost their exoskeletons, leading to the appearance of apex predators in both groups. Although I'm not a qualified paleontologist, and I adore the concept of a macro-predatory Cretaceous Kraken, I must admit that I'm a bit suspicious of both the upper size estimates for this animal and the bold suggestion that Nanaimoteuthis was an apex predator that targeted mosasaurs and other marine reptiles. Interestingly, other paleontologists who were not involved in the study, including Adil Klompmacher and Jacob Winther, share my concerns, stating that the fossils do not definitively prove that Nanaimoteuthis was an apex predator, competing with and consuming larger vertebrates. Although the fossilised beaks attributed to this species are huge, being about 1.5 times larger than those of living giant squid, we simply don't know whether Nanaimoteuthis possessed unusually large beaks for their body size. We are, therefore, probably looking at another Parusetus situation, wherein the results of this paper will likely be shown to be inaccurate, with length estimates being revised to the lower end of the 22 to 61 feet size range. However, even if this does happen, the lower length estimates still indicate that N. haggarti was an enormous cephalopod, perhaps vaguely comparable to the modern colossal squid in size, which can reach up to 10 metres or 33 feet long and weighs up to 500 kilograms or 1,100 pounds. Despite this massive size, I somehow doubt that it was capable of hunting large mosasaurs such as the contemporary Mosasaurus, which could reach 12 metres long and weights of perhaps 10 metric tons or so. Modern ceratan octopuses are also infamously lightly built and fairly delicate, a fact which has made them very difficult to study in the wild, with it being likely that N. haggarti was a deep water ambush predator like its modern relatives, given that its fossils were recovered from sediments formed in deep, cold, low-energy ecosystems, with the giant octopus targeting hard-shelled prey. So, while almost certainly not a 60-foot-long macro-predatory Cretaceous Kraken, Nanaimoteuthis haggarti was still by far the largest octopus to have ever lived, even taking into account the likely reduced size estimates for it, with the animal possibly rivaling the colossal squid in length and mass, which is still nothing to sneeze at. Thanks for watching, everyone. The next episode will be covering the Heterodontosaurs, a strange group of early Ornithischian dinosaurs that I've been meaning to do a deep dive on for some time now. See you again soon. Cheerio.